Adam Schiff, during a congressional hearing, did a bit. He made some comedy routine where he read a fake quote from Donald Trump that made Trump sound really, really bad. He said things like, Trump saying, "You better do this for me, Ukraine, or else don't call me back until it's done." And it was over the top and absurd. It wasn't so over the top that it could be unbelievable, especially when we're talking about Trump. But in the end, Schiff apologized and said it was meant to be somewhat parody. And my big question there was, why are you doing a bit in Congress? You probably heard me complain about it twice now. Well, I'll tell you why he did it. Okay, now let me stop. I don't want to be super hyperbolic. I'll just tell you that whatever he did had a positive effect for him and the Democrats. Because now we see this. Pelosi falsely says Adam Schiff's interpretation of Ukraine transcript was the president's own words. I kid you not. In this interview, George Stephanopoulos says he made it up. She says, no, he didn't. He goes, no, he really did. He goes, no, he didn't. And there it is. Adam Schiff read a fake quote into the record. And then later he says it was just a parody. My big question is, why is a congressman doing a bit in a congressional hearing? This is a serious matter, but sure, fine, whatever. And now we see where this goes. Nancy Pelosi either believes it's real or she's lying, but I think she believes it's real. I don't think she understands he actually made the quote up. And in an interview on ABC News says, no, he did say that. Guess what? When the New York Times came out and said, the whistleblower was a CIA agent, the left was furious. The left gets equally angry with the press when they're mean to them as the right does. So what we see here is Nancy Pelosi will have her defenders saying, I can't believe the media will be trying to defend what the president said. Pelosi is right. It's Trump's own words. Because people are going to choose things based on their confirmation bias. I don't trust the journalists. I trust the Democrat. That's what they'll say. So let's read the story from the Daily Caller, and we'll break it down. They write, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi falsely claimed that Democratic Rep. Adam Schiff's dramatic interpretation of President Donald Trump's transcript with Ukraine was the president's own words in an interview on ABC News Thursday. Pelosi spoke to ABC News host George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America Thursday and discussed the now released July 25 transcript of a phone call between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, which sparked a formal impeachment inquiry into the president. Schiff received pushback after reading a fabricated version of the transcript during a House hearing last week. So I'll make this point. A lot of people will say that Schiff did it on purpose. He knew what he was doing. By reading that into the record, you're going to create media snippets. You're going to create direct quotes. The quotes will now be presented without saying who they're from. This is one thing the media does. They'll present a quote and then not cite anybody. Just say it was a quote. So then they'll be like, in a statement read in Congress, which reads, quote, you're going to do this for me or else, people are then going to assume that was the real quote. I don't think we need to go that far. By all means, if you want to believe that Schiff is doing something dirty and underhanded, I certainly don't like the guy, fine, whatever, but we don't even need to go that far. We can criticize them for having done it, period. There should be no circumstance in which they read fake quotes into the record. And regardless of the intent, he did it and he should be condemned for it. Now Nancy Pelosi is carrying on exactly like you'd expect. And maybe she knows it's a fake quote, fine, whatever. But when she gets up there and says, this is what the president really said, don't be surprised when this enters mainstream understanding of the context. I have now talked to people who have repeated similar things. Like I heard he was strong-arming him and threatening him, and I'm like, no. He didn't even bring it up. They brought up Giuliani and meeting and all that stuff. And then people bring up the other fake news that, according to an advisor, Zelensky and Trump had an understanding that talking about Biden was a prerequisite, which makes no sense because he mentioned Biden like passively. And then it turns out a day later, not true, fake news. Because that's the game we play. It comes out, they correct later, but they know the power of the lie. And that's why I don't trust Schiff. But again, we don't need to go that far. I don't trust him when he does something like this and then says, oopsie, I can't believe it wasn't obvious. No, it's not going to be obvious to everyone. Okay, that's the problem. Despite the reading being a, quote, dramatic interpretation of the actual transcript, as Stephanopoulos noted, Pelosi claimed Thursday that Schiff's reading was the same as what Trump had said to the Ukrainian president. Quote, I want the American people to know what the phone call was about, Pelosi said. I want them to hear it. So yeah, it's fair. It's sad, but he was using the president's own words. Pelosi doubled down on the egregious claim after Stephanopoulos pushed back. Schiff himself said the reading was parody following outrage from Republicans. He did not make it up, Pelosi continued. And look, I want to tell you something. When I took the oath of office to defend the Constitution, as my colleagues have done, I did not say, I will do this as long as the Republicans can understand the Constitution. The fact they're loyal to Trump and not the Constitution is not going to slow down or impair our ability to keep the Republic. And this is why I made the video I made today on my main channel. I am so sick of the insanity. You know what, man? I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million times again. They say the same thing about each other. Everybody does. The right says about the left says about the right. The left says, there was one article being shared. It said, Nunes in secret recording vows to defend Trump over the United States. And nowhere in the quote did he say anything like that. He said something like, we must defend Trump, otherwise this is all over. Yeah, I think he was saying defending Trump was defending the United States. Everything is out of context. Everything is misinterpreted because you have nefarious actors on both sides who are trying to push a political agenda. Now, I have no problem saying the Democrats tend to be much more misinformed and the media tends to target conservatives, okay? But there absolutely are people on the right who play the same game too. I have no problem calling them out when they do that. That's why and therein lies the big problem. We can look at how this plays out. Antifa. They beat people. Okay, people on the right, not doing that. Not for the most part. There was one instance where a guy with a MAGA hat attacked someone in a subway train, and I did a video about it. There was an instance where the Proud Boys attacked Antifa guys and went to jail for it. I did numerous videos about it. But here's the problem. Yes, we can call it the bad actors, but what am I supposed to do when Pelosi repeats lies? When Schiff repeats lies, okay? It's one thing for Trump to be wrong. It's one thing for him to falsely claim something may have happened and demand an investigation to it. Fine. But then you have Schiff doing this. And I want to make another point. I know Trump lies. He does. He also gets things wrong. The immediate conclusion that everyone would make is that Schiff was doing it intentionally or that Pelosi knew it's not true. I'm not even going to play that game. Maybe Schiff really thought it would be funny to do the bit. I don't care. All I know is what he did was wrong. Maybe Pelosi really did know it's not true. I don't care. She's incorrect. Correct it. I'm not going to assume she's lying. I'll just say she's wrong. And the same is true for the president. But I have to stress, for some reason, Ezra Klein tweeted today that the president just makes these grand public confessions. And I'm like, you all just told me he was a liar. Why are you now going to claim he's confessing and you believe? So here's what happens. Trump will say something and I'll say, haha, he confessed. He'll say something else and they'll be like, nope, Trump's lying. He made that up. It's like, you know what, man? When it's something like Joe Biden is corrupt, they'll say he's lying and it's conspiracy theory. When it's something like him saying, yeah, I want an investigation into Joe Biden, they'll say, aha, he admits it. Which one's the lie? Okay, that's the point. We don't need to play the games. We can just point out something is incorrect. And I have no problem saying Trump is incorrect often. And I do believe he lies. And I do believe Pelosi and Schiff lie as well, because you know why? There's one key factor. They're politicians. Now, I know you'll see a lot of Trump supporters say Trump's not really a politician. I can understand that, and I can hear you. Trump is an outsider who entered the fray, and that's fine. It's a fine argument. I can just, at the end of the day, say, when I look into this news, it tends to be these stories that are negative about Trump that are corrected a day later. That's what it is. The fake quote is read, and then later, oops, it was an accident. Trump is accused of doing this one thing. A day later, it's corrected. That's what happens every single time. So forgive me if I'm not going to take their word for it anymore. I'm talking about the press. I don't care about anyone's tribe. I don't care for supporting or voting for somebody. But I do care when Nancy Pelosi comes out and says a quote is not true. And in this instance, it's particularly egregious. It's egregious because it's causing massive divide in our country, and it's going to hurt everything. It's no secret that I actively support, a couple Democrats, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, but admittedly they're the outliers. Yang's doing really, really well. He's let me down in a lot of ways, and I've soured on him a little bit, but I still lean towards I like the guy. Okay, Tulsi, I don't support her move towards impeachment, but I still overall really like her, and I think she's honest and on the level. I'm not going to end up supporting a Republican, but I will stress. It doesn't matter who I support. It matters when Nancy Pelosi plays right into the game that we all knew was going to happen. This is why I was shocked that Adam Schiff did this. He seems like it's a really slimy thing to do. To come out and be like, I thought it was obvious and so over the top. It's like, dude, you're doing a comedy routine right now? I just don't trust you. And then we hear that the whistleblower met with him first or something, or his aides. I don't trust you, man. Okay? I'm not going to play any of these games. The big thing for me is definitely not the Democrats. It's definitely not Trump. It's the media. It's always been the media. It's where I came from. It's the first complaints I made. And it's why we're here today. My complaints are not to be in favor or in opposition to any of the politicians, but to call out the lies being pushed in the media. When it happens that a Democrat pushes that lie and then the media just plays this, they should have stopped her right there and said enough, right? The problem is these stories come out, they're not true. A day later, they're corrected, and it always tends to flow in one direction. So do I care if Trump wins 2020? I really don't. I'd prefer Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to scream about it. I'm not going to play to anyone's side on purpose so I can hope they win. No, I'm just going to talk about what's legitimate and what's not. But for some reason, when it comes to censorship, when it comes to fake news, and when it comes to these lies, it always tends to flow in one direction, and that's the point. So you're not going to see me cheering on a false statement from anybody, be it the president or Pelosi. But why is it always like this? Why can't we have an honest conversation? Whatever, man. I'm going to leave it there. Stick around. One more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.